Adventuring may be a way of life to many across Tamriel, but to a select few, usually the sons and daughters of wealthy merchants and slimy politicians, adventuring is dirty work and should be left for the less academically inclined, or put in terms that they can understand, for the stupid. I'm of course talking about bards and scholars, the kinds of fellows you'll meet when you stop off at the Bard's College in Solitude. Perhaps I'm being a little harsh to these bookworms, as without bards the heroic deeds of legendary adventurers would be forgotten, washed away by the tides of time. But if you sign up to further your education at this college, sinking all your hard-earned gold into student debts, you may be disappointed by what you get for your investment. Unfortunately, this faction is one giant missed opportunity, and rather than becoming a bard, we become a groupie or an errand boy for some perfumed Ponzi poets. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. In this video we're going to explore everything there is to know about this prestigious faction in Skyrim, and contemplate about how this questline had so much promise and could have been so much better. Walking down the cobbled streets of Solitude, we can see the archway to the Blue Palace grounds in the distance, and through the windows of the buildings framing the street, candlelight flickers as families sit down to sup. But despite all there is to take in before us, one structure looms above the rest. A spire reaching up into the territory of the Eagles, a feat of Tamrielic architecture decorated with masterful masonry and beautifully blown glass, stained with vibrant colour. The interior is equally as impressive. No doubt the tuition fees of the many students to grace these halls has gone to good use. As we enter, we will be greeted by a proud high elf in fine robes, the guild's headmaster Viamo. By the looks of him, he probably had to fight the urge to tell us to wipe our boots on the doormat before coming any further. He will say,
"Welcome to the Bard's College. I'm the headmaster here. How may I help you?"
"I'm looking to apply to the college."
Always a pleasure to meet a prospective bard. You should be aware that many apply, but we accept very few people. When possible, we ask applicants to perform tasks the college needs completed. In this case, I do have a task befitting an aspiring bard.
Ah, brilliant. What is it he's going to ask us to do? Write a tear-jerking poem on the horrors of the Civil War? Perhaps compose an instrumental on the lute for an upcoming concert in the amphitheatre outside? What do you need me to do?
Elisif has forbidden the burning of King Olaf, a festival put on by the Bard's College. We need to change her mind. To convince her, I want to read King Olaf's verse, a part of the Poetic Edda, the living history of Skyrim. Unfortunately, the verse was lost long ago.
And that's where I come in?
Yes, according to Giraud, our history's keeper, the portion of the Edda dealing with King Olaf might still exist in Dead Man's Respite. I need you to retrieve the poem.
Ah, of course. So beneath his pretty words we have a fetch quest. Rather than showing off our persuasive skills, convincing Elisif to see things differently, we need to raid a crypt for a long-lost poem. The bards here are no fighters, and our timely arrival has allowed them to avoid the nuisance of walking through cobwebs and smelling the scent of decaying ancient Nord corpses. I'm sure once we prove ourselves that our days as an errand boy will be over. And so we go about our adventurer business and descend the steps into Dead Man's Respite. Only in the antechamber ahead, we see the apparition of a dead bard, which disappears as quickly as it came. We can then take the Ruby Dragonclaw and venture further. As we go deeper, we will see the same ghost multiple times leading the way. After a slew of Draugr, Skeevers and Frostbite spiders, we come across a door sealed by a magical aura. Continuing on, we will eventually reach a dead end at the bottom of a rickety old spiralling staircase. The ethereal bard sits atop the rubble beside a conveniently well-preserved book. King Olaf's verse can be pried from the cold dead hands of a corpse by the name of Svafnir. Taking the book will cause him to disappear once again. Now the ghost will remove the aura from the sealed door, revealing a passage that leads to the Ruby Dragonclaw keyhole. The ghost waits in the hall beyond, and it is the ghost of the dead man Svafnir. He calls upon King Olaf, and the monarch in turn summons his lords to fight for him, before emerging from his coffin to settle his score with the dead bard. And once his vengeance is settled, Svafnir will finally be at peace, emitting a bright light and playing his lute before vanishing from the mortal plane. King Olaf One-Eye was once the Jarl of Whiterun and rose to prominence, becoming the High King of Skyrim between the years 420 and 452 of the First Era. It is said that Olaf defeated the dragon Numinex atop Mount Anfor with the power of the Fuam. Some claim this to be one big fallacy in which Olaf paid witnesses to speak of his heroism. One brave bard by the name of Svafnir wrote a heretical elegy decrying him as a liar and a traitor. All traces of Svafnir's work were burned. Only one copy of his controversial verse survived Olaf's reign, and that is the one we just found. Only much of the text was lost to the ages. When we return to Viamo at the college, we will have the opportunity to rewrite some sections of the verse, giving us our long-awaited chance to play the Bard at the Bard's College. While I've been quite critical of this guild so far, this quest is definitely a unique take on the typical fetch quest, with a nice narrative woven into the adventure, and it genuinely does feel as though we have a chance to be a part of history when reimagining Svafnir's scandalously seditious magnum opus. Returning to Viamo, he will say,
"Oh no, this won't do at all. The copy is incomplete. It's aged to the point that parts are unreadable, and the parts that are readable, well, Bardic verse has come a long way since ancient times."
What does that mean?
It means I can't read it to the court. Without the verse, I won't be able to convince Elisif of the importance of the burning of King Olaf festival. If she isn't convinced of the festival's importance, then she won't reverse her decision to stop the effigy burning. It means that the burning of King Olaf, which the Bard's College has held for time immemorial, won't be happening.
And here we get the opportunity to suggest the solution, saving the ceremony and proving ourselves to the headmaster in one move. Can't we just make up missing parts of the verse?
Make it up? That doesn't seem appropriate. I suppose I could copy his style based on what you brought me, but I have no idea what happened in between these verses.
We can do this. What's the first verse?
"O Olaf, our subjugator, the one-eyed betrayer, death-dealing demon and dragon-killing king, your legend is lies, lurid, and false. Your cunning capture of Numinex, a con for the ages."
We then have the option to decide how the tale will be remembered from this day forward. We can say that Olaf found him asleep, or that Olaf made a deal with Numinex, or even that Olaf was Numinex, a human in dragon form. That one will cost you some speech skill.
"Olaf grabbed power by promise and threat. From Falkreath to Winterhold, they fell to their knees. But Solitude stood strong, Skyrim's truest protectors. Olaf's vengeance was instant, inspired, and wicked."
We can then say that Olaf ordered disguised troops to attack Solitude, or that he convinced Solitude to attack Winterhold, or, with persuasion, we can say that Olaf sacked the city and used magic to blame Solitude, or if you choose to say that Olaf was Numinex, you can say that Olaf sacked the city in dragon form himself. Viamo will then read the verse in the Blue Palace court, and thanks to the Dragonborn, the burning of King Olaf festival can go ahead as planned. After the ceremony, which also acts as our acceptance into the prestigious college, Viamo will approach us and say,
"I think they like you."
"So I'm a bard?"
"Yes, congratulations. You are now a full-fledged member of the Bard's College. Due to your adventurous nature, several of the college professors have some things they wish you to do. What's more, Elisif has declared the burning of King Olaf should become a weekly event. And finally, there's the matter of the patronage that Elisif wanted me to give you."
And so, after receiving a round of applause from the crowd for saving a sacred event held in high regard by the college, and after basically single-handedly rewriting King Olaf's verse, and receiving a patronage from the Jarl of Hafinga, you'd think that we're all set to become a legendary bard. We can learn an instrument and perform in taverns. We could write poetry that would go down in history, perhaps even featuring as an Easter egg in the Elder Scrolls 6. But no, this is where this questline and this guild takes a complete nosedive. Instead of any of these possibilities, or even some unique themed quests like the one we just completed, Our adventurous nature, as Viamo put it, has landed us with multiple fetch quests for the professors of the Bard's College. Incredible, what a great reward for our service to the institution. We can speak to Inga Sixfingers, who will task us with retrieving Finn's loot from Stony Creek Cave. We can speak to Pantia Atia and return her flute from Hobbs Fall Cave. Or we can speak to Gerard Germain about reclaiming Riorn's drum from Haldir's cairn. Aside from the item we are acquiring, there is nothing to separate these quests from standard fetch quests. And when it's all said and done, it's as if you never came to the college. Granted, the students and professors inside will recognise you and treat you as their equal, perhaps even commending you for your efforts in restoring the burning of King Olaf Festival from obscurity. But then you just leave. The experience you got from your studies, multiple dungeon crawls and +1 point into each of your skills. Skyrim has an array of great quests and some of the guilds feel fleshed out, but the Bard's College is not one of them. I personally really enjoyed the quest to retrieve King Olaf's verse from Dead Men's Respite, because the payoff made the journey feel worthwhile. You got a glimpse of the wider community of cultured scholars and intellectuals, gathering together for a historically meaningful celebration of freedom from tyranny and artistic expression. Burning that effigy and feasting was the perfect way to honour and celebrate vociferous political and social commentary, and reminds me a lot of celebrating Guy Fawkes Night in the UK. Guy Fawkes was considered a traitor to his people and committed the ultimate treason in his daring terrorist plot. He and the other plotters planted enormous quantities of gunpowder beneath the House of Lords, and nearly succeeded in his attempt to blow up Parliament and King James I along with it. In celebration, the people of London began lighting bonfires, and it soon became a public holiday. Only the English could have a public holiday dedicated to celebrating somebody's utter failure. Remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. Anyway, I digress, but it illustrates my point that we quickly established the college's culture, and it felt like a community that would be great to become a part of, away from the typical grind of adventuring and dragon slaying. Nevertheless, it was a lost cause, and we were left with something incomplete. At least the college makes for a pretty sight when you next find yourself strolling down the streets of Solitude. And there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the full story of the Bard's College. If you did, give the video a like, it helps us immensely. And follow us on Twitter to keep up with all the memes in between videos. Links are just below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Drew, and I will see you next time.